Well, hello everyone that is up at 1 a.m. to listen to a post-game live stream podcast thing. I'm Andrew Dukowitz. I am not as well caffeinated as I probably should be, but I'm going to be honest. When I found out that we were not going to be doing as many exit interviews after the game tonight as previously planned on, I was just like, what the heck? Let's just get this over with. Just like players should be getting their exit interviews over with. And not making me come into the Mayo Clinic, wherever it is, at 10 a.m. tomorrow. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. Ryan Eichten joining me from Canis Hoopus. How's it going, man?
I'm all right, given the circumstances.
And then King and Taylor bringing some pep. You're going to be the positive one today.
I am going to be positively looking forward to what we're doing in the offseason.
I mean, I don't know how much you guys actually want to talk about the game. I'm going to be honest. There's not a lot for me to say about it. It's the same way the season ended in Oklahoma City. It's the same way the season ended in Dallas. They just got stomped. I will say, like, one neat thing, I guess, is that Finch pulled Julius a couple times when things were going awry. Also pulled Rudy a couple times when things were going awry, and I think he ran with the guys that he felt were at least committed, I guess is how I would phrase that. Like Mike, Io, Jaden, Nas, TJ, Ant. Those were probably the 6 guys that looked like they wanted to play an effective brand of basketball. I do think Rudy wanted to play tonight. But just the Wemby matchup was tough, and Julius gave him like a good 3 minutes at the first in the first quarter, and then kind of fell off the map, as did no one else really honestly even played. But I guess, Ryan, just your perspective on the game. I did feel it was I'll just tie a bow on this of like, I did feel like it was notable that Finch pulled Randle. Second quarter, he just put Randle on the bench for 7 straight minutes. Third quarter, he put Randle on the bench for 8 straight minutes. Game was over. Pulled all of his starters with 8 minutes left. Like, I felt that was at least notable that he made that move to like try and salvage a season. Just didn't work at all.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the full D'Angelo Russell, right? Where D'Lo gets pulled in the against
Jordan McLaughlin did play though.
That is the comparison. There is Jordan McLaughlin did play in this game, similar to the one against Memphis. Is that 4 years ago now? 5 years ago? 4 years ago.
4 years. Yep.
I mean, he was just terrible in this entire series, and was fine enough in Denver series. Not gonna come down hard on him in a series they win relatively handily, but just wasn't good enough. And like you mentioned, Finch sat him down. He plays really all the starters, but Ant play in the mid-20s. And interestingly, Ant plays in the mid-30s and Nas plays upwards of 32 minutes. Like, there's just very few players that played anywhere well enough to play. And I thought it was kind of nice of them at the end of the first half to give us some sort of little run. But like, I don't know, they were outmatched in this game. They were outmatched in this series. And it's this weird dichotomy of, I kind of think they were outgunned. The minute Dante goes down and Ant's far from 100%, they were probably never going to win this series. I'm not even sure if they play their a basketball game for 5, 6, 7 I still think they kind of lose. Like, they were just at a talent disadvantage. But I also, on the flip side, think even if those guys were healthy, if they played like this, they were also going to lose. Yeah. So it's this weird duality of, I both don't think they play nearly well enough to win this game. And that's an indictment on everything about this season, the regular, all that stuff. And also equally, like, in my mind is like, they're kind of dead on arrival anyway. So that'll be we have a couple months here to figure out which one of those two ideas we want to really hammer home on this season.
Well, and I think both of them are fair. Like, we talked to Io after the game, and he's still dealing with the heel injury that made him miss a couple games in like March. Also has a calf issue going on. Nas's shoulder is held together by rock tape and like super glue. Ant doesn't currently have knees. Like, I mean, yes, every team has injuries in the playoffs, but I kind of agree with you. As soon as Dante went down, it was just kind of like, oh shoot, this team just might not have enough in it. But then your other point is completely valid. Like, this is a team that kind of just goofed off all season. King, I think you mentioned in the chat a couple streams ago that they might Mr. Magoo their way into the finals. Like, that's kind of how this playoff season has felt, is that it's almost more of like a happy accident that they make it. But I mean, from like your perspective, like sitting there watching the game tonight, like, I guess what was just going through your head?
I mean, it was a complete stomping, and we were sitting around like a bunch of characters out of a TV show in our section that at least kept it somewhat entertaining, but it was a complete no-show, and we shouldn't have been here. Honestly, if we watched this entire season and we followed this team, we shouldn't have been here. I was convinced that we are going to have a first round exit, like an embarrassing one. And the fact that they made it this far is a miracle. But it was kind of disappointing that like so few of the few guys showed up. And as Ryan was talking, I was thinking about like, yeah, there was like Ant and Jaden and Naz and Io. And literally those are all the guys that we have right now. Like, we don't really have like playable guys besides the ones that, you know, came to play out today. So you're not even like, okay, I'm going to pull this guy and put this after you pull Rudy and Randle. Like, who else do you have? No one. There was no one to play. And San Antonio is just so much more talented than this Wolves team is.
And I mean, to your point, like, you pull Randle, you throw Naz in, they're pulling Rudy in and out, and it's like TJ's playing. Jaden gets in foul trouble again, and it's just kind of like, well, we don't have options. We just got to try and throw things at the wall and hope something works. And like, to the credit of the Wolves, and I want to be like careful how I say it, because like Ant did look like he gave a bleep tonight. Like Naz looked like he cared tonight. Jaden, he looked like Jaden, right? I just like the Julius of it was to me the most disappointing. Like 23 minutes, he gets 3 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, goes minus 34 in 23 minutes. Also has 3 fouls. I mean, it's kind of an all-time worst playoff series for Julius. And I just don't know, as you know, I think Pack Mentality and Farah both kind of brought up, like, Julius's trade value. Like, I don't know what it is at this point. It might just be a good backup and a first round pick, and I would be pretty happy with it. Before anyone says Kyrie Irving, I will mention that Kyrie Irving makes $6 million more than Julius. So it would be like Julius and like TJ for Kyrie. It's not like a straight swap. They'd have to be within 25%. There's some things, but like, I don't even think he's really at the Kyrie stage at this point. I guess Ryan just like, how is your Julius Randle experience for this series?
I would more maybe broaden it out more to I was gonna say like the Randle and Gobert pairing, which obviously I think I kind of a good takeaway for me for this game is I think it's impressive that the Wolves have accomplished this much, winning 5 playoff series these past 3 years with this Randle and Gobert pairing that really just doesn't objectively work, at least in the terms of like winning a championship. Like, it's just a flawed roster makeup. So the fact that they've been able to win, they're winning these series with just like brute force. Just, they're not, I mean, obviously, like when they beat Phoenix 2 years ago, like that was like this series where like they just had more talent than that team. They were all sorts of more than that team. And to a certain extent, the minute Steph goes out last year, like the Wolves won the series right there. But even that, like, I think just undersells. Like, Julius has just not been good enough. And certainly, if they held on to Julius and if and when they made the playoffs next year, could you expect him to play as well as he did against Golden State last year? Sure. Could he have a good series or two? Sure. Like, that's like so much of this team is about like so much of this team the past 2 years, the past 3 years is just like unsustainable on the level of trying to win 4 straight playoff series. And I would say that even if they were in the East, where they were playing teams kind of more on their level, like the Knicks, the Pistons, the Cavs, I would say that on that level too. I just think the way this team is built and the way mentally, roster makeup, talent, all that stuff, the way it's built, they're just not consistent enough to win 3-4 straight playoff series. But even that doesn't, kind of similar to my other point about like there's a lot of competing factors. Even that, like, it's not about the only consistency Randle had is just consistently bad. And so like trying to
at this point there is a sample size.
Yeah.
And it's going back to the regular season, right? Like this has been like that since February. And I think like even us as fans, like we gave him a little bit of leeway of like, okay, maybe it was like trade deadline stuff and he's going to get back in it after, and he just never did. And I think like as a coach, maybe you're thinking, hey, if I give this guy opportunity, if I coach him up like it worked last year, maybe if I keep doing the same thing this year, that I'm going to get the same results back, maybe not in the regular season, but maybe I can get that version of him back during the playoffs. And that just didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, not even close. Again, Denver, he was okay. Like, I wouldn't say he was. I mean, I would say probably like Ant, Rudy, Jaden. He was maybe like the 4th or 5th best guy in that series. Like, he was fine. I mean, it did feel like in this San Antonio series, it was just when he was on the court, which again, he did defend okay against Wemby at times. Like, I do think there is a little bit of grace that we can give him of like, you know, there's an 11-foot tall monster guarding the rim, but at the same time, it's like consistently every game, he's one of the worst in plus minus. He didn't shoot effectively at all series. His assist to turnover ratio at the end of the day is 2 turnovers to every 1 assist as the kind of primary offensive engine. It was just not good enough. And I think, again, that's probably the likely trade that the Wolves do this offseason. I don't know. I guess I'll ask you guys this. Like, going on a positive note, I do feel like this playoff series or this playoff run in the end of the season, like, I at least feel confident that Io, if they're able to retain him, is a dude. Ant, Jaden, Nas all took mini steps to varying degrees, like Jaden scoring at the end of the year. Nas, I think, even with the shoulder thing, was fairly consistent. Ant was awesome. TJ, I think, is a dude. Like, I think you found out you at least have like 5 or 6 guys on this team that are actually going to be guys that you can move forward with. Which I guess that's good information. Ryan, is there anything else that you learned about this team in the finals or this kind of final 6 + 6, 12 games?
Yeah, I would even go back to the Denver series. I think it's easy to let this series cloud how awesome they were in the previous round, and they absolutely dismantled the Denver Nuggets, who, if we feel like the Wolves are kind of in this crossroads as a franchise, I mean, they put the Nuggets in like the pits of hell in that series with half their roster.
That team will never look the same. That team will never look the same. Like, they broke them.
And I don't think the Wolves are at that level of despair. But I mean, it's fair to say like San Antonio and Oklahoma City are head and shoulders of not just the Wolves and probably the rest of the league. And they both have extra like picks and assets that, like, when the Wolves got expensive, they had to downgrade from Cat to Randle, and that's a big thing. And I know like people will revisit the Cat trade, especially if they win the East. Like, unfortunately, go blame the third apron or third apron, the second apron on that, because if you retain Cat, you don't have Nas. Even if you do keep Nas, you're just so far up into the luxury tax, and then you literally don't have Io because you can't. You don't have
Io, you don't have Dante, you don't have Johan, you don't
so
completely different team if they keep Cat, and it's a very shallow team.
But they are ultimately still paying for that. I mean, just look at I don't know, who knows, like if they have Cat in this series, and it's easy to revisit the trade now when Dante's already out. Like that was the allegedly biggest part of that. I don't know. It brings up a lot of big questions for the offseason, and kind of coming into the playoffs, this is how I felt through one really good series and one fairly bad series. I think the question is not who on the front court they're going to trade. It's how many. It's kind of like, and it feels like Randle's almost a must go, but like if you're looking to try to get a return, I think there's a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference. If Detroit loses Game 7, they'd be a good fit for Rudy Gobert. Maybe the Cavs. I mean, there's just a lot of teams I think Rudy Gobert can still provide a lot of value on. But with it just feels like for a lot of the Wolves have hit a wall with this current core, and I've seen a lot of like the Wolves window is closed. One, not sure it was ever open. I know people like to point out the Dallas series that they probably should have won. Boston was going to kick their butt 2 seasons ago. Boston was awesome.
Was really good.
Boston was really, really, really good.
Also, Ant's 25. Like the people that are like the window is closed. Like Ant is not in his prime, Jaden's not in his prime, Nas is not in his prime, Io's not in his prime, TJ, Johan, like they have another 3 or 4 years to take swings at this thing. Like this, for this particular team, though, I think what you're trying to say is like this particular iteration, the window is probably closed. Like the Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert.
It was never open. They were never the top. Like they were never. I mean, I'll complain about like Ant's quotes after the game all I want, but like this current roster makeup was not good enough to win the title. Each season, each of the last 3 seasons, there was at least one, if not 2 teams that were just way better than them, and that's fine. And that'll be the fun. That'll be the fun pivot moving forward. Is like trying to get over that hill. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. That'll be fun. They've been extraordinary. There's 16 before tonight. There were 6 teams left in the NBA. The Wolves were one of them. Last season there was 4. The year before that was 3. Like the Wolves are, pick your number, but like the Wolves have been one of the 6 best teams in the NBA 3 years running. Like that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still a step short. And that'll be the frustrating or the fun part of the next, hopefully 5-10 years of this kind of Wolves golden era is, can they get over the hill or won't they?
Which, like, I know I've said it quite a few times on this pod of just like, it's how the NBA always is, right? Like the Golden State Warriors era, it was 4 straight finals they went to, 5 straight finals. Cleveland dominated the East. Before that, it was the Heat dominating the East. It's San Antonio and one random Dallas team. Like there's always a dynasty that a guy like Ant is trying to overcome, and most times they don't win and get over that dynasty. But Kinga, let's bring it back to positive. What's a positive you got out of this playoffs though?
Jaden McDaniels. Jaden McDaniels has been a positive, and I think when we think about like in the comments, there were a lot of like, Julius sucking the life out of this team. That guy stood up and took over for Ant in off and on the court in a way that is not very like natural for him. And he put himself out there. And if that's not leadership, it's always easy to do the things that come easy to you. But for him to like put himself out there, both on the court and off the court, to be like, someone needs to be the Ant of this team and to speak for the team and to have the kind of the charisma and the whatever Ant has that cannot be replicated. Like he brought that, and that is like that is brotherhood, and that is stepping up for your teammate, and you're like, someone needs to do this role, I'm going to do this role. And that was just, I was really impressed by it, because like that's not his, at least his public persona. And the way he backed it up on the court against Denver and put his money where his mouth is and just became that guy for Ant and in Ant's place, I think that just shows what an amazing teammate that he is, what a leader he is, and to hold it down for Ant until Ant came back. Jade, like, I will be the next glue girl if they try to trade Randle.
You're just gonna glue yourself to McDaniels and have them drag you off.
Yes.
I mean, to that point, like, I don't know if Jaden can be the second best player on a championship team, but I feel very confident he could be the third. Like, I feel like I learned that in this, of like, he gives you enough offense. His defense, I think if they had better perimeter guys kind of alongside him, or Ant or Io weren't hurt, maybe they could move him around a little bit more so he's not always in foul trouble against the Spurs. But like, he's a dude. Like, I want him. I think there are 29 other teams that would want to have Jaden McDaniels right now, and San Antonio is probably one of them.
There would be so many teams that would offer a lot for Jaden McDaniels, and I don't want to get a notification that I'm no longer allowed into Target Center, because I want to go there on Sunday. But I will glue myself to something or someone, or like bring a chain and then just chain myself to Target Center, because that guy is solid. Like, he's really, really good.
He's really good. I mean, the offensive stuff too. I mean, again, against San Antonio, he missed quite a few bunnies. He missed some of his mid-range, like, pull-up stuff. But like, he's shown that he can do stuff. He can also play make a little bit better than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
I don't know what that ends up being, but like, I think we saw it tonight. Like, Julius gets that pass and TJ is wide open in the corner and Julius just doesn't see him. Like, I think Jaden can at least read the floor where he's seeing an open guy. Again, I don't know what that's worth on an open market. I hope they don't trade Jaden. I would like to see the Jaden Ant Nas thing through. Pack Mentality asks a good question. Why did Julius not join the team in the huddle and sit on the bench alone? You know what? Let's go to an ad read, and then when we come back, we'll take a stab at that one, because tough Julius body language day. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew, and today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard, and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. So first, a little bit of wholesome stuff before we get into the Julius body language, because one of the Wolves and Lynx camera videographers video takers, camera women, camera people. One of their camera persons came up to me after the game. I can't remember. You might have been there too, Ryan. There's a couple of us there, and said that Ant, after his media availability, went around Target Center and personally thanked like all of the equipment people, camera people, security guards. And like, if you're a Wolves fan, that's the type of stuff that like you kind of have hope in, is like this 25-year-old dude that's kind of a doofus at times and makes really boneheaded decisions on a basketball court and like is playing with no knees, is still like a good enough person to be like, I'm gonna go thank everybody that works in the arena, just because like that's what I should do as like a leader of this franchise. And I think that's worth something. So before we get into Julius sitting on the bench alone, looking kind of disinterested at times, like, it's important to remember that like you have a top 6, maybe top 7 player in the league that also does have like a good heart, I guess, more than anything. But Ryan, I'm going to kick it over to you. Feel free to touch on Ant being wholesome or Julius. Just, I mean, what did you get of his vibe tonight?
Ant is a complicated person. I think that's fair to say. He's a complicated basketball person. He's a complicated off the court person, to say the least there. He's incredibly personable in that way. And I think he's somehow the least self-aware person and the most self-aware person. I
would agree with that.
Is kind of around the organization. Certainly willing to call out positively his teammates when they deserve it, and usually isn't necessarily the most, like, he doesn't want to hype up himself, at least like in post-game media stuff. But yeah, not surprising to me to hear that he was talking to staffers and being nice. And it's also I don't know, the Julius Randle body language stuff is just so brutal. I'm very curious how the setup was kind of after the game. Was they had certain players come to the podium that was informed their exit interview, and then tomorrow we have availabilities with some more of the people, and allegedly guys like Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels will be allegedly speaking then. I'm very curious if that ends up happening. For guys like Mike Conley, I 100% believe that Mike will be up there right at his scheduled time. I'm very curious if the rest of the roster that did not speak tonight, we got Ant, Rudy, and Io tonight. Curious if the rest of the people who is available tomorrow.
And Kevman brings up the post-game presser was BS. I will just say, like, how the Wolves did it is pretty common for like home teams that get eliminated in the playoffs. Sometimes they just have people do their exit interviews right after the game so they can just move on with their lives and catch a flight to Cabo or whatever rich athletes do. I don't know. That's above what I do. Like, it's this weird thing of like, Ant just lost a playoff series by 30, but also we're not going to talk to him again until October. So like, it's a really tough place for media to be in. Like, John Krasinski is asking about like the game, Dane's asking about what he needs to work on in the off season, Chris is asking about his injury status, and it's just kind of this weird, like, again, we're not going to talk to him again until October. So on next to no notice, because they lost, it's now everybody in the media is trying to get kind of what they need for their stories over the summer out of a guy that's going to talk to us for 6 minutes and we're not going to see. So like, it was the same with Io. Like, he got a lot of questions on like I think he got like 3 questions on what his plan is in the off season. I in a perfect world, we're talking only about the game tonight, but that's not how the NBA works. So it ends up being this weird amalgamation of like long-term planning questions mixed with like, hey, so you chunked a bunch of threes questions, which admittedly terrible setup for media, but it's the reality. Kingo, you haven't talked in a while though. Julius body language. Let's start there, and then if you have any Ant thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
Can I start with the Ant one? Because like,
yes,
I think Dane always says that he Ant or Kyle Taggy when he talks about that Julius looks like he's at the DMV all the time, and Ant doesn't have knees, and that's why he doesn't run back on defense. But why Julius is moseying down the court, no one knows. My Ant thing, and this is just like one of my favorite things about the playoffs, whether the Wolves play well or not, is there is a next level of Ant that we see every single time. And we didn't get to see that this year. And that is just killing me because of his injury. Because regardless of how much he tried, and he tried his best every single minute that he was on the court, we didn't see that step that he takes, right? Of like, okay, like he added this to his game in the playoffs, and then when he goes to work in the summer, we're like, okay, he needs to kind of work on this because this didn't work in the playoffs. And I don't think that he has a good playoffs baseline because he doesn't have any knees and he couldn't show any of the skills that he acquired throughout the season. And I kind of feel bad for the guy, and I feel bad for us as fans that we didn't see it. And I know that, like, the playoffs is the culmination of all the work that you put on the past off season and during the season, and that's where you showcase it. And we didn't get to see any of that because he always does like such amazing things in the playoffs, and we didn't see it. And I just feel so bad for him because like being injured must be so frustrating for a guy like him. Because there were those clips from either Court of Gold or Starting Five when he like gets frustrated about having to do his treatments.
Yeah.
So that's like not his favorite thing to do. But he's an athlete and he wants to play, and I just feel terrible about that. And Julius has been such a big baby. Such a big baby. God. There's so many things in our jobs that we don't want to do, but we have to. And there's like so many people like that's what I don't understand, right? Because like Ryan, as you said, like Ant is a complicated person off and on the court. But like there were those videos from him today that like with 8 minutes left of the fourth, he goes over to the Spurs bench and congratulates people on the win. And like sometimes you just have to do some things.
Mm-hmm.
And Julius was a Ja Morant today. Because that's what he's been doing in Memphis. Not going to huddles, just having DMV face.
It did feel like it to me. It felt, and we kind of mentioned D'Lo in passing, but like it just kind of felt like that, where it's like this guy knows he's getting moved or not going to be here. Like no matter how many athletes say they don't pay attention to that stuff, like someone in their life does and is texting them about it. Like it's just, there's always someone chronically online that's like informing these dudes of what's going on in the Twitter sphere. And like, I'm sure Julius, I mean, I kind of expect him to be traded at this point, especially after this playoffs run, but it's just tough. I mean, on the Ant thing, like John had come out a couple times, John Krasinski, saying like his knees are at like 70%. I don't even know if they were at that. Like, I'll just be honest. Runner's knee doesn't get better when you run on it. Like, it just doesn't. A bone bruise doesn't get better the more you like have impact on your knees. Like Ant after the game even said, like, I think John Hollinger asked him, like, did you feel better as the series went on? Ant said yes, but like that just legitimately does not make sense. Like neither of those injuries just get better the more you use them, and there's not like a ton of treatment to like make those things get better. So like I don't even think Ant was at 70%. Like he couldn't move in the post. He couldn't really cut more than 4 or 5 times a game. Like not giving him a pass because he chose to be out there. And if you're going to be out there, you're going to be judged on how you perform. But like, he was the Wolves' best players in a series and he didn't have any knees. Like that's just mind blowing to me. Ryan, what's your take though?
Yeah. I mean, he never had a chance to, we never saw like the playoff ant we saw in the previous 4 postseasons. And I thought he needed to be out there even if he was hobbled like this, especially like thought in Denver, like they won a bunch of games kind of using his spacing and stuff. But it kind of goes back to what like they were just kind of dead on arrival in this series. And it's not to say that there aren't huge, big, giant red flags, specifically number 30, based on this series. But I don't know. It's a complicated end of the season, because I don't know. I kind of more go back to, I look at the season as a whole, the regular season, the positives from the Denver series than I do more in this series. But also I keep talking in circles because I just didn't think they played nearly well enough to win this series, almost regardless of who was healthy and who was in the lineup. Yeah. Like they never, I mean, again, in this series, like the Rudy Gobert Randle front court was always going to be a huge issue, and they kept starting it, and they kept starting games off and halves off terrible, and that was like the premier example. Like they just go down huge at the start of the game before they try a new lineup. But even I mean, there was no way they could the lineup that closed the first half that scored. There's no way they could keep playing that lineup because they would have eventually gotten tort. Like they just ran out of firepower in the series, and that's both an understandable result of where everything was at and also a damning aspect of the end of the season.
Which I think that's like, again, this offseason is going to be fascinating because I think last season there was kind of this, do you re-sign everyone and keep the band back together, or do you try and like do some cap gymnastics and like try and make a big pivot? But there just wasn't a ton they could do that makes sense, especially with like the new aprons and sign and trade rules and stuff. This offseason, like the world is their oyster. They're going to be able to kind of do and make whatever trade they want. They're just going to be hard capped as soon as the draft is over. Like it's, and they got guys that I think, I mean, pack mentality mentions, like, I don't know who you could convince to take Julius off our hands. New York felt the same way 2 years ago, and they got Karl Anthony Towns out of it. Like, if you listen to Knicks fans in 2023 of their opinions of Randle, pretty similar to Wolves fans right now. Like, there's always, I would just say, like, there's always a team that thinks they can fix a guy, right? And like, you look at Dallas, they have a lot of kind of pieces that they could core together. You look at LA, I don't know if Julius would want to go back to LA, but even like the Clippers, like Garland, Kawhi, and you pair some stuff to get Randle, like there will be teams that'll convince themselves into doing it. It's just, what do the Wolves get back? Because at this point, I don't think it's a starting caliber point guard, which honestly they might not even need. Iowa's fine. Kinga, before we get out of here though, like, any last thoughts just kind of on this season? And just, I mean, we don't need to keep talking about how it ended, but like, how will you remember this season, I guess?
I do have to point out 2 things with how this ended. I can't believe we did this to Joe Ingles, who probably this was the last time that we saw Joe Ingles. He's going back to Australia, and for it to, like, he's such a great guy, and he was just like tremendously fun, like following as a fan with like all his like media shenanigans, and for this to be his like last stint in the NBA is kind of heartbreaking. And then Kayla McBride posted that apparently she was at the game, but it looked like she was in some sort of like nosebleed seats. I don't know.
Yeah, she from what I understand is she just showed up.
Yeah,
Hoopers love hoops.
Gotta love her. She's like Miss Minnesota. Someone needs to crown her. Like,
yeah.
But I think it's weird to say, and this is the conversation that is happening in my household, that technically this was a successful season. None of us who followed this team thought that they could get this far. Like, specifically after they didn't turn on the switch after All-Star break, they outperformed themselves. Like, the whole Julius bad vibes things that has been going on for at least like his disinterest in things has been going on for a while now. So the fact that they got this far just shows like the talent and then the brute force of several key other players that pushed it this far. And I think, like, in a weird way, it was a successful season, because as Ryan was talking about, like, this team was never going to make it to get over the hump, right? We were never going to go to the finals, and we were never going to win a finals. We were never going to win the finals. So the fact that they beat Denver, I think that made it a successful season, and it ended awfully. But I think that it was, in a weird way, a successful season because we won one series. And we learned something about some guys that are, like, amazing. Like you said, Andrew, Jaden, Nas, obviously, and TJ, solid dudes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what I'd say too is, like, it's different being in the media the last 5 years, because, like, I don't know, like, I feel so bad for Mike. Like, Mike and Joe, like, I just feel really, even Rudy, like, man, they want this so bad, like, just to have this in their career. But, like, it is a successful season. Like, they made another playoff run. They knocked out a 3 seed as a 6 seed. They kind of dicked around all season and then just, like, figured out how to patch things together. We found out information. The other thing is, like, successful season is kind of like what you make out of it. Like I mentioned earlier, let's look at Mike Conley, for example. He had been on literally the entire grit and grind Grizzlies era. He was a part of the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert era in Utah for 3 seasons. And he's been on this Wolves team each of these last 3 seasons. He's never even been in a finals. Like, that's how hard it is that this guy has played on 3 separate teams that are listed on 2K as historically good teams. Never played in the finals. Like, sometimes it just sucks. Like, the reality of the NBA is if you only grade a successful season off of a championship, Ants over under for championships is probably like 1.5. Like, it's not very high. It's hard, and there's always dynasties. So you do have to kind of find a way to, like, make this a season that is a success. And honestly, I think they found a way to make it, because a lot of people thought they would just be the 6th seed and get stomped. But Ryan, I guess I'll throw it over to you. Just how will you remember this season? And I guess just kind of what are your opinions on the season as a whole?
I'll remember it for the Denver series first and foremost, but I think to push back on, like, the successful season, I think a successful postseason for sure, but I think the regular season goes down as an abject failure.
Fair.
From start to finish failure. And
I just got to get my laugh out of the way, because, like, yeah, you're not wrong. They should have been the 2 or 3 seed.
And Ant said it after the game. You're supposed to build championship habits or playoff habits during the regular season. And then follow-up question was asked if they did that. No, we didn't build habits during the regular season. And that's just incredibly damning of the entire organization, from the roster to the coaching staff to the front office. That's just a disaster. And I go back to, there's plenty of losses like this, but I go back to New Year's Eve in Atlanta, where they get just absolutely trounced against, at the time, a pretty brutal Hawks team who later kind of saves their season. And Rudy in the locker room, I thought this was the money quote. Do we care? And he repeats it. Do we care? Does something happen when we played like this in the first quarter tonight, Or is it just cool? Make a lot of money. We play basketball, do what we do, go home and be happy. I think that's the first line between a team that's playing for a championship and a team that's full of talent but doesn't accomplish shit. And that's exactly what this team was. They didn't accomplish, they never gave themselves, and the injuries probably never gave themselves a chance either, but they never, even if they were healthy, they never gave themselves a chance to win this title by the way they acted during the regular season. And Finch, after I believe game 4 of the Nugget series, gave away the game here too. He said they told us we didn't care about the regular season, that it'll be different in the playoffs. And to a certain extent, they were right. They did quote unquote flip the switch against Denver. That team that played that Denver series was awesome, but there's no way a team that just punts on the regular season like the Wolves did was ever going to win, even against mediocre competition. Nonetheless, title contenders like OKC and San Antonio was ever going to win the title by the way they played in the regular season. And the only way that's going to change is by December of next year, is if they take this seriously, because 49 win teams don't win the regular season. And this team had way more talent, and especially when did people start getting hurt? March and April. Before that, they were as healthy as any team in the league. And that, not the playoffs, not less so this series, what deserves criticism is that the 6 months long, 5 months long regular season, that they just built up none of this. And so when they got into a series that they didn't have good matchups, they just had no answer. They had no answer for Wemby defensively, because the things they had to do to beat that, they had not done that all regular season. And even saying that, it's unfair because Ant was hurt and Dante's probably going to miss a good chunk, maybe all of next season too, but they were probably, again, dead on arrival this season. But almost setting that aside, they were dead on arrival coming into the playoffs. I'm not surprised they beat Denver. That is the least surprising thing ever. Like, they just have that team's number, and this team with all its warts is awesome. And I'm also not surprised they flamed out the minute they got against one of the true championship contenders. And that's the biggest thing. And I know people are going to blame Finch, and Finch deserves blame, like everyone deserves blame for this. But it starts and ends with your best player. It really does. Until Ant fixes this, until Ant night in, night out becomes like a true MVP candidate, starts acting like 90% of what Shea does. Look at the kid on the other. He's really a kid, the 7'6" kid on the other side of the. Until Ant acts like that and plays on the court like that, that is when the Wolves' quote unquote championship window will open. And until they have this version of Ant where it just doesn't have like the problem solving on the court skills when they get against this type of opponent. And that's just to me, that's the whole thing. That is the whole thing with specifically Anthony Edwards, whether he's going to be one of the 100 best players, which he probably is on track to do, or whether he's going to be one of the greats of the game that can actually drag, put it bluntly, before Ant got here, a shitty sports franchise, the Minnesota Timberwolves, to a title. It's going to be hard because that Oklahoma City team, that San Antonio team is freaking awesome. And as long as there's such a big gap between who Anthony Edwards is and who Wemby and Shea are, the Wolves are just, they're never gonna to beat those teams.
It's so interesting because Ant is like, as a teacher, he's such a specific student that I've had in class before. Like, I know that kid. I've had that kid in class many a year.
I'm sure
he's the kid that doesn't do his homework and then gets like a C on the test. And then their parents are pissed because he has like a D in the class at the end of the semester, right?
I think he's a kid that gets a B, but that can get an A. And I've said this in my classroom so many times that I'm always more frustrated with the kids that can do something, but they just don't, than the kids who can't, right? There are kids who just like, that's their, like, they have their abilities, and sometimes science just takes you like, that's it, right? But then there are those kids who could just do some extra things and they could be amazing. And I think Ant is one of those students of like, you see their potential. And to what you were saying, Ryan, like, we know that he can do it, right? But he does also get bored during the regular season. So he's such a typical like student that I've had in class. Many of them.
He's a kid that gets a B. He's a kid that gets a B in the class, but he aces the test because he's that smart. But then he gets a B because he turns in half of his assignments late.
So this is probably a bad time to. We're at minute 50 in this podcast. So Andrew lore time. When I was in high school, 15 years ago, I used to calculate how many points are in the total amount for the class, and then do just enough homework to get a C. And then just stop doing homework. So like I would have like a 98% in the class at midterms, and then my grade would just tank every class, no matter what subject, English, math, science. And
so this is why we started using, in my department, we started using single point rubrics where we show the kids what you need to do to meet the standard and extend the standard. Because some of the rubrics show like, this is what you do, like, because we have a 4-point scale. This is what you do for a 1. This is what you do for a 2. 3 is meeting the standard and 4 is above and beyond. We only show them what you do for a standard to get a 3, which is basically like an A minus, and what do you do for like an A?
This is why,
because so many kids are like, no, I'm fine with like just doing the thing for a B or a C.
Yep, mine was literally like, man, Andrew, genius. What is happening? Oh, he just decided he's not doing homework ever again because he's gotten to that 73% threshold that as long as he doesn't fail tests, he'll be fine. Anyways, like I mean, what I think is so interesting with the Ant psychology is like he does work hard. Like he does train, he does practice, he does all of the things. It's just, Ryan, you hit it right on the head. Like you got to play off-ball defense every game. Like you got to score 25 efficiently against the bad teams and the good teams. You got to like pay attention every film session and not just have Mike Conley tell you what to do on the court. Like it is their regular season is a really big an indictment on Ant, I think, and on Finch. Like I think Finch, you know, I do think next year he starts on the hot seat. I don't anticipate Hitting getting let go this offseason, but like I do think like after 2 straight seasons of being a 6 seed where they overachieve in the playoffs, it's time to say like, why can't you guys be a 2 seed to where you're not having to go through this gauntlet, which I think that's a fair expectation for next season, especially if they keep their kind of core young guys. Like they should be fighting for that 1 and 2 seed, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean the top 2 seeds are going to be really tough in the West. OKC and San Antonio. So I think I would more target like a win, like they coming up short of 50 wins, like with this type of roster is just like, that's insane. Like, and they've done it 2 years in a row. And last year they had the excuse, and to a certain extent, a fair excuse of the trade was right before the season. The continuity was out. Like this year, they came in with all the continuity with the roster that made the West Finals last year, the same one. And they just laid an egg from basically the start.
Remember
of the
training camp when they were like, we're going to run all the way to the corners on fast breaks. And then like game 3, it's like, never mind.
And they'll say the same stuff at media day next year. And it'll be about going out and do it. And the roster will almost certainly look a whole lot different. But ultimately I've just felt like for a while, like Ant just right now just doesn't quite get it. And it's hard to explain what it is. I tried.
Yeah.
He just doesn't quite get it. And I think that's the first big domino is him getting what it takes to, and he says the right things, but it's like coming out of the gate from the regular season. And it's not to say you can't have down or bad games in the regular season, but like those need to happen once a month instead of once a week.
Honestly, like that's I again, I wish I could articulate what it is, but I mean, again, if you go back through the history of the NBA, most star players don't get it until they're 27, 28. And Ant is still 25. I don't know if he will ever get it. I don't know if it just I'll be honest, based off of like his post-game press conference, I can say sitting here right now at 1:57 in the morning on May 16th, he probably doesn't get it right now, but I mean, you're spot on. Like if they want to win a championship, he has to get whatever that is, or they have to get a really good number 2 that already understands that, which that's easier said than done with this roster if you want to keep Jaden, right? We're coming up on an hour here though. Ryan, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, Words at Canis Hoopus recapped this lovely Game 6, but there'll be plenty of content up on the site for myself and others. And then 2 Words Wolves Pod. I'm not doing a pod based on this game, but Leo and I Monday morning will have a podcast for everyone, breaking down the end of this series and probably more broadly the Timberwolves season as a whole.
And Kinga, where can people find you?
People can find me on TikTok at Kingabee, and I'm doing a hard pivot over to talking about the links, because the links are back in action as well. And I can't this being the last Wolves podcast and not give a shout out to Dante, because we haven't brought up Dante, and that guy was just so great for this team. Such a hustle player. He gave a damn, and this series and every playoff series that we played in, we could have needed a guy who cared and would have passed out on the court, and not having him having such a terrible injury. My heart goes out for him. And Dante's a real one, and I hope to see him back in a Wolves uniform.
Me too. I really hope they don't trade him, which we'll speculate about that all off season. But yeah, Dante just what a tough way to end the season. If you joined into this a little bit late, does get posted up on YouTube and X as soon as I end the stream. If you can wait a few more hours, it will be out 7 a.m. on May 16th, Saturday. Wolves are doing exit interviews in like 8 hours here, so look forward to a bunch of content over on TikTok and X of what they have to say. I'll try and get out most of the really important stuff, and then I am going to be making that pivot to links as well. So if you like my basketball takes, if you are open to watching WNBA hoops, I always tell people it's a lot of fun. Like it is a good product. There are likable stars. I'm not going to make all the pitches, but I do the same thing over there for them. You'll see me going live after Lynx games on X and YouTube. All of those podcasts are found on the Missing Links post-game live stream podcast feeds, wherever you get your podcasts.
And people can come and watch Lynx games and just imagine what an Olivia Miles would do on the Timberwolves.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if she played next to Ant? Oh, you wouldn't even need him to mature. She just understands like pick and rolls. Oh, it's just lovely. Point guard stuff. I hope Mike goes to a Lynx game this year just so he can kind of sit there and like reminisce of the good old days. Anyways, thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time.